This is Conversations with a Gender Therapist Q&A, where a gender therapist answers questions from those who are transgender, non-binary, gender questioning, as well as those who love them. I'm your host, Dara Hoffman-Fox, licensed professional counselor. Let's get on to today's question. Today's question comes from Cam in Ontario, Canada, and I'm going to wear glasses today. Cam says, how do you prefer to respond to people who assert that there are only two genders and that they are XX and XY? Also, what are your favorite resources to direct people to for further reading, which would be considered credible sources? So this question is one that I myself have wished that I could answer better. When it comes to talking about things like science and biology, genetics, I know that it's not a topic that easily rolls off my tongue. There's other things that I can talk about when it comes to all this kind of stuff with a lot of ease, but this part of it I'm not so good at. So I turned to my Conversations with a Gender Therapist Facebook page, and I put the question out there to see what kind of responses I would get, and I got a lot of responses. I will put the link to that actual comment thread in the notes if you wanted to click on that, but I wanted to summarize a couple of the comments that were left. So one of the first things that we should start with is the person who's asking you that question. What is their intention? One of the people on my Facebook page mentioned, if the person offers such a statement with a closed mind, I walk away. There's a difference between someone who is simply not educated on certain matters versus those who are plainly ignorant, and I would add who are willingly ignorant. So once you kind of get past that part and figure out what's going on, if you do want to engage in a conversation, somebody else wrote one of those scientific answers that I wish I could memorize and say at any point in time. So I'm going to read to you what they said. Okay, they said, I start with biology, since that is where they are starting. I discuss the erasure of intersex people. I discuss the fact that many people who are intersex genetically don't even know until puberty, when things don't exactly work out as expected. I discuss the charts that doctors use to sex genitalia that are ambiguous and arbitrarily used to determine gender for the person. I then discuss the wide range of hormone insensitivity syndromes, where people are genetically one sex, but then their bodies conform entirely to the opposite gender. I talk about the fact that even determining basic biological sex is not easy or straightforward. I then talk about the fact that there are people who neurologically and or hormonally are wired in a way that they experience being a gender that doesn't match what people have told them they are. I talk about how studies are showing that this is a real and valid baseline that is just different from average. I then talk about why it isn't a mental disorder and that the only approved medical and psychological treatment is considered to live in congruence with their identity. Lastly, I don't go into gender theory. In fact, I avoid it if at all possible, because this can so easily be argued against from a moral standpoint. So I stick with hard science, and I tell them that they can deny it all they want, but actual science is never as simple as they want to make it. So another approach that a few people took, it doesn't have to be explained with science. It can be responded to when it comes to actual real life experience. For instance, one person said, I am a woman. Do I need to say more? Another person said, all I can say in my case is that I never felt like a boy, ever. And someone else said, I am a mother of a transgender son. My response to them is, how and when did you realize you were male or female, and why? In short, this for me is an experience of real life, not books, not the internet, and not other options. So, there you have it. So in summary, first of all, where is the person coming from who is asking you this question? What is their intention? And if it seems like that they really are not open to discussing the possibilities, you might want to just walk away because you might end up frustrated. We talked about one way that you can respond with that has to do with biology and talking about science. And then there's the real life experience of just asking someone to just believe you when you say it and say, you know what, this is just my experience. We don't have to get into science. I want you just to trust me. This is what's going on. As for resources, I did also have a couple for you that folks on Facebook shared with me. One is to go to the Gender Spectrum website. That's genderspectrum.org. Somebody shared an article that I have seen before, so I do think it makes its way around quite a bit, from nature.com. And it's called Sex Redefined. I'll put the link for that in the notes as well. And lastly, on my website, which is darahoffmanfox.com, there is a reader question and answer segment called Why Am I Transgender? And I actually had a guest writer who ended up answering this question. There's a lot of really good videos and linked resources in that particular article. And once again, I will put that in the notes for this YouTube video. So, thank you, Cam. That was a really interesting question, and I thought it was super fun to turn to the people, again, at the Conversations with the Gender Therapist Facebook group to see what they thought. So I'm definitely going to do that again because, believe it or not, I don't know everything, but I know that I have enough people out there who know enough that together, all of us, pretty much we do know everything. So that's community building at its finest. Speaking of that, if you watched this video and you have a resource you'd like to share, or maybe an approach you wanted to share with Cam and everybody else, please put that in the comments, and that way everybody else can see what you think about this. In the meantime, be sure to submit your questions, which again, you can put them in the YouTube comments, or you can go to the Conversations with the Gender Therapist Facebook page, and on every Wednesday, I'm going to ask for questions. I will be back with you again next time with another segment of Gender Therapist Q&A.